Hey everyone, I'm back with Katie Halper. We are still feeling the buzz from the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez victory, so we wanted to keep talking about it, even though I know we've done extensive coverage on it. We were both at the election night party. We ran into each other. We got to talk to Alex. We've both been covering this race very early on, so it's near and dear to our hearts. So that's why when people like Joy Reid tweet things like this about political journalism, just getting to know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, it irritates us a little. So Joy Reid tweeted, "Pretty much all of political journalism are doing an Ocasio-Cortez crash course tonight, myself included." Now, the Young Turks has been covering Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez along with Jimmy Dore for about a year now. I did a 4-part series with her where I thought she was important enough to spend the entire day with her campaign. And this is an example of the mainstream media bubble, and now articles on NBC, outlets affiliated with MSNBC, aren't crediting the Young Turks or The Intercept, they've credited The Intercept sometimes, but not really the Young Turks, when they're referencing the media that's been covering this race. Let's just dive right in there. Yeah. This is an obvious example of how out of touch Joy Reid is.
I think what happens is when you spend all your time covering Russiagate and inventing narratives about how racist and sexist and homophobic Bernie Sanders and his supporters are, you miss a lot of things, including an insurgent race. And Joy Reid doesn't even live in Washington, D.C. She lives in New York. So the fact that she would miss this congressional primary where a 28-year-old working-class Puerto Rican Bronx native woman is running against basically the male, white, straight Democratic establishment, the one that Joy Reid et al. Claim to hate. The fact that she could miss that is really shocking, and I think just imagine if people paid attention to Ocasio. Now, Ocasio won, which was both incredible, but I thought she would win, actually.
I didn't even want to say it. I know I'm regretting it now because we were on camera talking about it. In the back of my mind, I'm so superstitious. I used to not say the words win before New York's Giants games. I instructed my dad not to do the same because I thought that would affect the outcome. Yeah. Like, I'm a little crazy like that.
To see how it worked out.
Right, exactly. We can have Nate Silver crunch those numbers.
Friend of the show, he's on my show. So I thought she would win, but I actually thought maybe I knew she would win. I thought maybe she wouldn't win. Like, I thought Dems would maybe do something with the counting of the ballots, which of course makes you sound like a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. But then all those things are actually true. We know that they happen, not that the mainstream media covers it, which then makes people covering it look like we're fringe. We're not. We're just doing the work that the mainstream corporate media isn't doing.
If not changing votes, which I wouldn't even go as far as to say, it's more just like the shady tactics of the Democratic Party
but
in
even
New
counting,
York.
And what did they, they did all this other stuff in the primaries and letting people vote and not letting people vote.
It's shady all around.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joy Reid, I suggest that you watch Emma's videos. You could listen to my podcast because I had Alexandria on. And then you have all these bad takes following her victory. And
I can't get enough of them, by the way.
I know. We should have a segment called Worst Takes or Worst Takes Ever, like Colbert used to do with, like, Bush.
She's going to be on Colbert tonight. This may go up on Friday, but Thursday the 28th, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez celebrity going to be on Stephen Colbert's show tonight.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
She, I joke that she got the Katie Halper Show bump, and Ben Jealous got the Katie Halper Show bump. So that's what happens.
There's one thing that's common.
That's the one common denominator.
Right.
And Zephyr Teachout, I think this is exciting because I really want other progressive, especially other progressive women, to win. Zephyr Teachout, and then Julia Salazar, who's a DSA candidate running for state senate. Zephyr is running for attorney general. She's like one of the smartest people out there.
Unbelievable.
She's a lawyer. She's anti-corruption. She's the perfect person to be attorney general. She said she would sue Trump. And another great take is from Dana Milbank at the Washington Post, who said that the only reason that she won was because of demographics.
Oh, that's fun.
Demographics.
So that's basically a racist thing to say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go out there and say that you would never say that if she was the incumbent, or maybe they would say it if she was the more, establishment incumbent. But now, because they haven't paid any attention to the race, it's lazy journalism. So they go, she's a Latina woman. This district is 48% Latina, so it's got to be demographics. Even though they reelected Joe Crowley for term after term after term.
And he was appointed the first time, right?
But now it's demographics.
Well,
it's insulting.
He claims so Milbank writes, Crowley lost because of the changing demographics in his district, which had been redrawn considerably after 2010, is now only 18% white. Yes, Ocasio calls herself a socialist, but Crowley was a down-the-line liberal, particularly in recent years, and a champion of single-payer healthcare. The issues Ocasio-Cortez used against him were largely non-ideological, moving his family to Washington and taking special interest money.
That's not
Crowley
true.
Evidently didn't realize he was in trouble until too late and never saw colleagues help in what was a low turnout primary. Sorry, Dana. Not living in your district, being out of touch, is pretty ideological. It's pretty much like the more insurgent and the more anti-status quo you are, the more in touch you are, the more you're actually living with the community. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders. He always flew coach, right? Other people are flying first class. These are issues that are related to ideology, and special interest money is, of course, related to ideology. I mean,
but they pretend like it's not, because that's what that ensures that they can continue doing things the way that they are.
Exactly.
Because they can take corporate money. It doesn't affect my policies, even though it so obviously does.
Right, and also the media wants the takeaway to be. They don't want the takeaway to be that when you're a socialist, when you're progressive, when you're actually responding to people's real needs and speaking to them. Look what Ocasio did. She said health care, single payer, Medicare for all, and abolishing ICE. She offered real things, not these milquetoast moderate talking points that nobody remembers and that doesn't excite anyone. I mean, that's the problem. The Dems, one of their infinite number of problems is that they think that the way you beat radical right-wingism and pseudo-populism is by moving right and being a moderate. That's not how you beat it. It doesn't excite anyone. It doesn't speak to what the right-wing radicalism speaks to. You do it through left-wing populism.
And I've actually heard Jimmy Dore say this before: if you run a Republican against a Republican, the Republican wins every time. So the real Republican will always win, because you don't make your case, you just play on their turf.
If you run a Republican against a Republican?
Right. It's just a play on words, because
the
Republican being the centrist Democrat.
Exactly, yeah. And another great take was from Steve Schmidt, who likes to brag about the fact that he stopped being a Republican 2 days ago.
Even though he's the one who's solely responsible for Sarah Palin.
Yeah, so Steve Schmidt, I really want your guidance and input, because you worked for McCain's failed campaign. You thought the Republicans were good through Reagan, Bush, McCain. It was your idea for him to name Sarah Palin as a running mate. That's not just bad policy, that's really dumb politics. And he was on MSNBC, because MSNBC is so progressive that they have this guy who is a Republican up until 3 days ago. And he said he equated Ocasio-Cortez with a Trump of the left, a Trump on the left. Now, he was also a Dick Cheney aide. Jesus. Anyway, the point is, it's already ridiculous when people compare Sanders and Corbyn to Trump. It's very stupid and lazy. They both, what Sanders and Corbyn do is that they speak to anger, and they tell angry people, I get why you're angry, and the people responsible are, the things responsible is inequality, corporations, pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies. Whereas Trump goes, I get why you're angry, and the people responsible are Mexicans and Muslims. Those things are so significantly different.
Yeah.
And one of them is what peels away people from the other. That's how you get those angry people, by saying, no, it's not disenfranchised, marginalized people. Not that they use that language. You shouldn't use that language. It's not very accessible. But the point is, comparing Trump to Ocasio, I mean, just on very basic levels, she has the mannerism, her demeanor, she's not at all, she doesn't have that grouchy thing that Sanders and Corbyn have, just in presentation, which has nothing to do with politics. But how on earth is she like Trump? She's not full of hate. It's not as extremist to say that ICE should be abolished. It was created recently. It's not extremist to say that. It's not extremist to say that families shouldn't be ripped apart. And it's not extremist to say that people shouldn't die because they don't have money. So where is the equivalent to Trump?
Threatening the establishment.
Right. God forbid we have people who could beat Trump. Well, Steve Schmidt doesn't want Trump to be beaten, even though he pretends. He'd rather a Trump than an
Ocasio.
Yeah. But it's a great endorsement. Congratulations, Mazel Tov, Alexandria, to be smeared by a guy with such a track record an ex-Cheney aide, Sarah Palin Endorser, is quite
Take it
the
and run with it.
feat, yeah.